FRCR candidates whose exams were postponed this month, and I've been thinking a lot about them, and I feel really I really sympathize with those of you who've had your exam postponed, particularly because a lot of you came to our courses. You've invested a lot. Even some of you traveled across to the UK, and to have a postponement must have been quite shattering. In a way, probably a little bit expected, but I know we were all hoping that they would somehow run it. However, it is where we are, and this webinar is really to help those who have had their exams postponed. Okay, and we've called this the Ultimate FRCR 2B Preparation System, and I'm just looking in this webinar on 7 strategies to help you pass on your next attempt. Okay, whenever that's going to be. Okay, so let's get started. So what we're going to cover are the 7 strategies. I'll explain what these are as we go along. The magic number for rapid reporting, some of you might have heard me talk about that. The blind bullet strategy for long cases, that's a relatively new one. The runner's time management technique for the long cases. The 7-stage script to score success in the Vivas. How to leverage averages in the Viva section. 5-step tested X-ray exam technique. The modality-based and diagnosis-based review area checklist with an example each. Okay, so we will explain what these are as we go along. So I'm just going to continue. So first of all, I have to ask you a question. Is this what you came to learn? We're going to cover, obviously, in 1 hour, it's not possible to cover anything in huge detail, but we're covering some of the strategies, and later on I'll explain how we can continue this journey together. But is this what you want, what you came here to learn? Some 7 strategies. I hear a lot of yeses. That's fantastic. Thank you. Yes, from a lot of people. Said, Udo, Muhammad, Polish, Heba, Ashfaq, John, Sally. It's fantastic to see 84 people on this call. So let's keep going. Okay, first of all, I want to say this session is being recorded, and there will be a recording available. So and also the recording will include the chat box. So that's just to let you know. Okay, there will be time for questions right at the end. So even after the 1 hour, I'll stay on as long as needed to answer some of the questions that you've asked before. Maybe we'll go through some of the questions that we answered when I kind of signed in at 4:45 or something. I just answered a few general questions, so there may be time to answer those. So first of all, are you ready to start? A few yeses would help me. Sorry, would help me just get into the mood myself. Okay, excellent. Okay, let's get going then. So first of all, my name is Koshi Jacob. I am the training director for Revised Radiology and Southwest FRCR. Sorry, that's a mistake. Let me just. I thought I was shut down on that. Okay, so my name is Koshi Jacob. I'm a training director for the Revised Radiology and Southwest courses, and I've been a consultant now for something like 12 years, or to 2009, and I did all my basic graduate training in India. And I came to the UK, did an MRCP and an FRCR, and I came through at the end of 2009. And I worked in the NHS till 2015, when I kind of left to work for a teleradiology company, and also to develop the education side of things. So that's what I did. Okay, let's go on then. First of all, let's address the elephant in the room. Okay, and that is the uncertainty. There is a huge amount of uncertainty here. Okay, so and the uncertainty is everywhere, not just in sort of in terms of revised radio, in terms of radiology exams, but in life generally. You know, people are losing jobs, people are having to work long hours. There's such a contrast, and so let's, you know, this is what we are. This is the world we are in now. Okay. Let's continue. Right. So here's how you can pass the FRCR despite the pandemic. And I believe it comes down to knowing your why, knowing your how, and taking action. Okay. So the lethal mistake, I think, in my view, is losing momentum. Okay. That is the biggest mistake anyone can make at this stage. And people who succeed, this is from Tony Robbins, who some of you might know, is people who succeed have momentum. The more they succeed, the more they want to succeed, and the more they find a way to succeed. The other half, okay, of the quote, I would say, is that when someone is failing, the tendency is to get onto a downward spiral that can become even a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay. So let's now. So would people agree with that? What do people would people say about that? Do people agree that, you know, what I just said there, which is that to succeed you have momentum, and the more they succeed, the more they want to succeed, the more they find a way to succeed. And if someone is failing, it's likely to be a downward spiral. Okay, so let's get started with the magic number then. That's right. JJ says losing momentum and disappointment are a hindrance to success. Absolutely agree. So first of all, let's quickly go through the magic number for rapid reporting. Some of you have heard this before from me. The magic number is 15, which is this. When you're doing a rapid reporting packet and you've identified 15 definite abnormals, okay, and you have 12 definite normals, which I think most of you should be able to get to that point where you've identified at least 15 definite abnormals and 12 definite normals. And if you're unsure about the other three, which is usually the case of there's a normal looking x-ray, but there's a little line here or there, and you're not entirely sure whether to call it a fracture. There's a little lesion on the chest x-ray, and you're not sure, is that a lesion or is it just a line? Is the hilum really expanded or not? Sometimes it can be very difficult. Okay, I accept that. In that circumstance, if you called the remaining three normal, even if you were wrong on all three, you would get 27 out of 30. And that's a pass. Okay. Now, this is really what we're talking about are a few strategies just to help you right at the end. Okay. So when you're doing packets, that's the first thing. Okay. The second strategy is the blind bullet strategy for long cases. Okay. So now let me explain this. Now, let's say you're doing a long case, and I'm doing this webinar on the assumption that most of you have you know, got very close to sitting the exam and you couldn't sit. So you guys understand what I'm talking about. Now we are going to, I just want to say before we go on, we are going to run 3 sets of webinars in February. And the purpose behind that will be to go through things in a bit more detail. So suppose you are running out of time, and after answering 4 cases, just make sure to write something in for the last 2, okay? Because you score 3 marks for no answer, but if you answer something, you get 4 marks. Okay, it'll be a bad fail, but you still get 4 marks. So let's take the example of 6 cases. Let's say you did quite well on 4 because you did it in real detail, and you got 7 marks, 7 out of 8. Let's say you did really well, but then you completely missed out 2. Well, the 2 that you missed out would have only given you 3 marks because you didn't even answer them. You only get 34. That's a fail. Now, if you had answered them, okay, I think there's a mistake there. That should be 4 marks times 2. You get a 36. Okay, that's 4 marks times 2. That's 8 plus 28. That's 36. So that would have been the correct answer. I think. So that's what it is. Okay, can people still hear me? Because Samuski is saying true, but now he can't hear. So let's keep going. Okay, yes, that's good. Okay, so that's just one little point. Always the basic moral of the story is fill up every box somehow. And I'm going to show you something about that later. Okay, so when we're doing long cases, this is the runner's time management technique. It's about taking shortcuts. Okay, now when you're doing long cases, go through all the cases first to spot the easy ones. Okay, the ones with fewer modalities. And so that's the first thing. If there are cross-sectional studies like CT or MR, look at them first. Okay, so that will give you, because what you do then is you look at the CT or MR to give you a sort of diagnosis, and then you can look at the X-ray to see whether the whether those findings are visible on the X-ray. That is certainly a better way of approaching complex cases. Okay, so look at the CT first, because time management is really the reason that people get the most difficulty in the exam. Okay, so if you can sort out your time management, that will help you greatly. And the third one is scan through the modalities and sequences for clues to the diagnosis. So that's kind of related to the previous one. Quickly go through some of the studies. Just, when you see and we will go through this in detail in the 3 webinar series, okay, which is that you go through a long case packet quickly to get a clue to the diagnosis, and then write up the diagnosis in each page and then start from the beginning. That's one way, and you can trial it out, the system. You trial it out in your own when you are doing the trial packet, the packets on revised radiology. The other thing is to get faster. So if you're spending a ridiculous amount of time, I mean, I say ridiculous, but it's actually what you would do in normal life. If you were to spend 14 or 15 minutes per case, and you need to aim for 10 minutes per case, then you can save time by typing faster, by learning keyboard shortcuts, which you can do a lot of practice on the platform, Revised Radiology's platform. Use the bullet points, use short sentences, and let's say for typing faster, you save a minute, you save 30 seconds per case learning the keyboard shortcuts, just because you know to press kind of S or P or whatever those shortcuts are. You practice those while you're doing the packets. You do bullet points. Using bullet points can save you. Now this may be an exaggeration, but you save quite a bit of time. And I've just said, okay, you save 3.5 minutes. That's kind of what you should be spending, because you should be spending around 10 minutes per case, right, on average, so that you have time to look through cases again if you need to. Okay, let's keep going. So now we have finished the magic number for rapid reporting. We've done the blind bullet strategy for long cases, the runner's time management technique for long cases, and the next things we're going to do are the last 4 techniques. So we're making really good time here. So I expect that we'll have quite a bit of time to cover some questions at the end, okay? So what I'd like to know now is, what's the one thing you're going to use from what we've discussed so far? What's the one thing you're going to use from what we've discussed so far? So I'm just going to give you a few minutes to go through that, and I'll just turn off my camera and just wait for you to tell us, all of you, what's the one thing you'll use that we've discussed? Here now, so far we've got quite a few responses. Bullets, ignore caps. Let me see if I can hold this while it's going on. Ignore caps, bullets, faster typing, bullet point strategy, practice on the revised platform. It's been a great help and saw a great improvement in both my scores and typing speeds, and the magic number, time management, magic number. So many people found the typing faster, quickly scrolling through the cross-sectional images. Go for the longs first and go look at the longs first and go for the one with the less imaging modality. Absolutely keep the last three doubtful rapid reportings normal if you're doubtful, okay? The critique helps, yes. Time management, 15 absolute normals, long cases. So generally, you know, I think it's a mix between all the three strategies. I just wanted to mention about typing speeds. I absolutely agree with Rahul there about typing speeds, and I'd like to recommend that if your typing speed is low, get some lessons on touch typing, okay? And you can do that online as well. There are online courses that you can get on touch typing. Just do a search on Google, and that will definitely help you, because we often think faster than we type, right? And unfortunately, they don't have, for example, voice recognition, which would be even faster. But obviously, that's not something that's going to happen. I suppose that's what the Vivas are. You're kind of using sort of, if you think of a Viva as a long case, which is spoken, that is what a Viva is in a way, except that you're then questioned about, and you have a chance to redeem yourself if you're wrong. Unfortunately, with the long cases, what you write is final, right? So that's one of the big challenges. And then about the keyboard shortcuts is another one. And then, are spell errors marked negative? There was a question. No, not generally. Not generally. They do allow for spelling errors. But of course, the quicker you type, and there's actually the study where they completely mixed up the words in a paragraph, and people were still able to read it because the human mind can unravel it. So the people who are marking will be able to understand what you're saying as long as it's reasonably good English, which I think is mandatory. So you really need to work on your English on every front. If you're from abroad and you don't speak very good English, you need to get there, okay? Okay, so let's go on then. So in terms of, I just want to just explain some of the things that we can do together. So you've taken 3 steps to success with, you signed up to this webinar, you showed up, and you keep taking action to reach your goal. Okay, if you keep doing consistent actions over time, as we reasonably spoke about in the last coaching circle webinar or the meeting, then over time you're going to make a huge improvement. And I've seen this improvement in the candidates that we deal with in Revise. We've seen that improvement. and that's because they do daily work. And I know when I look at the platform, people who are doing daily work, it's very clear when you see, how many attempts are being made. So we know that people are taking action. So in terms of how we can take action to get your pass together, and of course we're going to cover a lot more as we go in the next the rest of this webinar. I just want to introduce a one-off 2B online bootcamp. It's a very basic, just something to introduce you to what Revise can do. But more than that, it's to help you. And what we're going to do is we're going to run 3 advanced training webinars over the course of the next month. We're going to give you, if you're part of this bootcamp, a chance to observe, as included in the price, the next Viva course on the 6th of February. You can observe it. There won't be any hot seats, but you can observe 4 hours of Viva and see what how other candidates perform. So that will give you a taste, if you've not had a taste of how this thing, how the webinars, how the online courses or online exam could be run, then that will help you. Okay. You'll also get a month's access to our trial packet on the rapid reporting on the Revised Radiology platform, and we will. And I suppose probably the most valuable bit of this is that you can have a 30-minute mentoring call with me. That time is what I charge for mentoring normally. Okay, so you can get that call with me as part of this in the next month. Okay, so that's part of it, and I would encourage you to consider taking that mentoring call. Okay, so normally if you add that all up, that's a big cost, mainly skewed because of having to deal with me, I suppose. But we are trying to help candidates who are significantly affected, and I'm willing to take some time to help people. It's going to be a very busy month, I expect, but the price is £99 plus VAT. And if you're one of the first 50, we're going to only charge £49 plus VAT. And that will also be the same price for people on any of our Viva all-inclusive courses, okay? Because it's still my time that I have to cover sitting with you. So I'm gonna give you the option to do that, and you need to book that call next month because I can't have that kind of extended for a long time. So that's just and these are the dates of the webinars. There's one on the 4th of February. There's the Viva course on the 6th. The second webinar will be on the 11th of February, and the third webinar will be on the 18th of February. Okay. So if you are interested in this, just take a photograph of this on your phone, and then you can decide if this is right for you. It may not be right for you. No pressure. Okay.
Dr. Jacob, there was just a question about what the course includes. So could we just go back to that slide for a second?
The course, what's the question about it? So the course includes the webinars, the observation slot for the 4-hour Viva course on the 6th of February. It includes a month's access to one packet. So for those who already have a Revised Radiology subscription, it's not, they have a lot more than that. So that's kind of pointless. But the main bit is a subscription of FRCR for 1 month, which includes one 30-minute call with me. Okay, that's what it includes. Okay, so it's just an introduction. It's just really something to give you a taste of for those who have not had anything to do with Revise, it's an opportunity to understand Revised Radiology and what we can offer. But for those who are already part of it, it's an opportunity for you to get a call with me and to discuss anything regarding your exam, okay, strategy-wise. And that's 99 plus VAT, and it's reduced for the first 50. I mean, I was going to do it for only 10, but we just decided, okay, we're going to try and give it for more people. Okay, so what we will cover in that thing, I don't want to take a lot of time now and go on to the strategies, is basically understanding the the format, the strategy you can use to pass, a little bit about money management, because obviously with uncertainty, you need to know how to spend your money in the most effective way. You know, when do you, for example, when do you arrive in the UK? That kind of stuff can be helpful for some people. And also for those of you who are in the UK, trying to budget for this exam, which is at the moment very uncertain, we just want to cover a little bit on that. Okay, we'll look at some insights into the marking and avoid a number of mistakes that will cost you on marks, and we'll understand the questions. We will try and we'll try and answer your questions, and we will also look a little bit more in detail on a fail-proof approach to the exam. Okay, so let's just go on. Before that, 100% risk-free guarantee. Yeah, so if you're not happy after signing up on, and you've seen our first webinar on the 4th of February, if you're not happy, we'll just give you your money back. Okay, we don't want people who are not satisfied with what we are offering. Okay, so 100% risk-free. Okay, so on the 4th and before the 6th, if you want the money back, we'll give it to you. Now this is where you can sign up to the course, and I think Joanna is going to put a little thing where you can just click, and it will open up a page for the Bootcamp, and then you can just sign up. Okay, that way. Okay, let's quickly go. Oh, the last date is the 31st. The spaces are on a first come, first serve. Okay, let's get into this, because this is what we are here for. Confidence comes from being prepared. Okay, and that's from the Wizard of Westford, the basketball coach. It only comes from preparedness. Okay, if you're not prepared, you do not get confident. No amount of people telling you you're good is enough. You really need to be prepared. And you can be prepared by doing lots and lots of work. There is no, and so I want to say that, like I said in the video that I did before this webinar, I really think, I know this has been postponed perhaps twice or thrice for some of you. It is still a bonus to have time to sit this exam, because this is one exam. The FRCR 2B is one exam where the more time you get, the more prepared you'll be, and even better than that, the better radiologist you're going to be. You're going to be a far more confident radiologist. So I am actually excited about the kind of radiologist that we're going to get at the end of this pandemic. I think we're going to end up with a very good batch, if you like, of fantastic radiologists who have learned, who have persevered, who have prepared for their 2B really well. I know some of you, for example, have sat the 2A and passed in October, and you were quite nervous about sitting in January. I wouldn't be surprised if such people like you are actually quietly satisfied, happy that you've got a good reason to prepare more. And yes, it has cost a lot of terms in terms of family time, money, stress, uncertainty, like JJ is saying there. I absolutely agree with that. But I want you to reframe your mind, because if you do not reframe your mind, if you do not reframe the way you think about it and your mindset, it's only going to make you reduce momentum, and that will be a worse situation for you. You could end up failing. And failure is even more loss of family time, money, stress, uncertainty. So I would really like to plead with you to change the way you think about this exam, and get excited with me about the future. Okay, if this 102 of you who are on here can change the way you think about the exam, we have succeeded, and we will end up with a group of radiologists who are out of this world. Okay, so let's that's my number 4 strategy. Now, a 7-stage script to score success in the Vivas. Okay, let me just see, what was the last? Yeah, so that's the 7-stage script to score success in the Vivas. That we are now at strategy number 5. Okay, so when you have a case of any case in front of you, okay, whether it's in long cases of RAP or in Vivas, start off identifying and say, this is A. Okay, so I'm giving you a script here. This is A. So don't just sit there in too much silence. Don't just faff about saying, I am looking, I have been presented with, or I've heard people say, you know, all kinds of phrases that are just are not British, for a start. And so I'm going to give you one that this is accepted, if you like. Okay, there can be variations of it, but this is a X-ray, chest X-ray of an adult male or female or whatever. I'm looking at. You can do this in 2 ways. You can start with your observations. There is a, or you don't even have to say I notice. I'm just giving an example. There is a mass in the right mid-zone, or I'm looking at, if you can't see straight away, this is a script for someone who can't see straight away. I'm looking at, there's a chest X-ray. I'm looking at the hilum. The lungs appear clear. Or you can start by saying the lungs appear clear. The heart size is normal. I'm looking at the hilum. I'm looking at my review areas, including the upper zones and behind the heart and the bones. I don't see any abnormality. I'm looking again at the soft tissues. I notice that there are multiple small nodules in the soft tissues. This is likely to represent a disease such as neurofibromatosis. So you can see how you have used your system. You've helped the doctor, the examiner, see the way you're thinking, and you really comes across very well. Okay. Or, you know, you can say, for example, I don't notice certain things, which means, you know, in certain scenarios that might be the thing that, for example, you're looking at a CT scan of bowel obstruction, and you're saying that you know, there are dilated loops of bowels. I am looking for a transitional point. Okay, and then you can say, yes, I noticed that there is a transitional point in the right iliac fossa or wherever. I don't notice any free air. I'm just looking at the lung windows to identify any free air, and I don't notice any, which means that there is no, or there is, you know, in certain scenarios you might say, which means that. Okay, that is what we call the interpretation in the long cases. The interpretation is, I don't notice any, which is the finding, the observation, which means is the inference, and that is the interpretation. Okay, there was a question that someone asked earlier in the question about whether you can add the observations and the interpretation together. Yes, you can, because the examiner is looking at whether you have got it there. It's not important whether you've put it in the exact boxes. Now, if you can copy and paste some of it into an interpretation, do that, but it won't matter. Okay, so that's what, and then you say your diagnosis. Because I noticed this, I conclude that this is the diagnosis, and then but it could also, my differentials would include, or you could say it would be because of this. Okay, and ask for further tests, like, or you could say, I would like to do the following tests to confirm whether, you know, whatever, or I'd like to ask whether the patient has any symptoms of whatever, you know, and then you can say this will indicate either this or that. So this is not set in stone. Okay, so pretty much if you have a script of your own, just use that if it is. But all I'm trying to encourage you to do is to give you a script. Okay, that's what is important. It's the script that matters. It's having a script written down that you are used to, and that and if you want to check that script with me on one of those mentoring calls, go ahead. Show me the script, and I'll just say, okay, that's a good script to have. Okay, so that's something we could do together. And then also management. Always finish with management. That's when the examiner knows you finished the case. Either say something like, I'll pick up the phone and contact if it's an emergency and ask them to do whatever step it is. But you don't always need to pick up the phone. You'd say, I would recommend that the patient has a CT scan or whatever. Okay, so the important thing is that you need to, like JJ is saying there, carry forward in a clear, understandable conversation and vocalize your thoughts. I absolutely agree with you. So fine. Okay, so never skip the management. That is absolutely important. It is always there, and the Vivas are and the long cases. I've said this in many webinars before. The preparation is very similar. The only difference in the long cases is that you need to write it down. That's where things like typing speed, using bullet points, and all those things come in. But on the whole, that's what it is. So someone has asked me to show the script below, so I'm just showing the script below. If you want to take a photograph, please feel free of that slide. Okay, and I'll also show the first one. That's the first one. Take a photo if you need to, and then this one. Okay, and that's the final one. Okay, now this is just an example. Please make your own. Obviously, we don't want to have an examination where everyone is using the same script, but use this as an example. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. That is what we've been saying all along. And what I'd like to do now is to just look at the leverage, the average, the sort of how to leverage averages in the Viva section. Okay, so now we're moving over from long cases Vivas into the Viva session. Okay, so and just for those of you who are watching who haven't picked it up, there will be a recording of this available later, so you can get it there. Okay. Now the important thing, you've only got 15 minutes. It's an online exam, and your aim is to see about 4 cases and about 5 or 6 modalities if you can. Okay, you get marked not on the number of cases, you get marked an average on the number of marking events. Okay, and we'll explain this in much more detail during the webinar program. But in short, basically, an X-ray could be a marking event even if the patient has a CT afterwards. So you could get scored out of 8, from 4 to 8 on a chest X-ray. And then you have a CT scan, that's also 4 to 8. And maybe you have an MRI, that's 4 to 8. So even though you might only see 2 or 3 cases in the 15 minutes, you've actually done 5 or 6 marking events. That's the concept. So if you say you have 2 average cases where you get 6 marks, you have 1 good case where you get 7, and even if you do 1 bad case where you get 5.5, you've passed. Okay, and so aim to see more marking events, and obviously that will help you. A good system, so Orison Sweat Marden says this, a good system shortens the road to a goal. And I have personally used good systems all my life, or at least since my GCSEs. I've used systems to help me remember. I've used, as Joanna writes there, we'll be providing these slides as fillable PDFs. Yes, so I've used flashcards very often. Nowadays, a lot of things are electronic. You could use mind maps. Those are very powerful systems. A good system will help you shorten the goal. So get your systems right, and we can help you with that. Okay. Okay, let's go to strategy 6. Now, this is a little bit more radiology, really. So the important thing is, especially when you're looking at chest X-rays, but also when you look at skeletal X-rays, this is really for rapid reporting. Okay, but it is valid also for long cases and Vivas. Trace around the bones. Look at the edge of the films. This is at the end. You know, once you've looked at the first bit, this is something you want to do to pick up the unusual stuff that you might be missing. Build up a database of review areas. Be careful of vascular lines, because people often overcall vascular lines as abnormalities, fractures or whatever. Look for soft tissues and foreign bodies. So I'm just going to show you a few things. Okay, so here's a system where you're looking at a chest X-ray. You know, you're looking at the X-ray, looking at it first. I've shown this before, actually. Some of you have seen this on a previous webinar, maybe. And you see the X-ray, nothing kind of turns up, but then you look at the hilum, and you look at the apices, and then you're looking behind the heart, and you're starting to see something, okay? And you can see there is a mass behind the heart, okay, there. Now, if you hadn't followed the system, you could easily have missed that. But when you window it on the system, you're going to see that clearly. But even when you see that, especially when you're in a Viva or long cases, don't stop there. Look at the bones. And one way of looking at the bones is to rotate it, okay? When you rotate it, it seems to look, it becomes much easier on a chest X-ray to look at the bones, and that may be the case even with skeletal X-rays. And then finally, just look at these soft tissues, just in case there's something there. Don't forget the pneumothoraces. So if we then look at a modality and diagnosis-based review area checklist, I'm going to show you some different ways of getting checklists. So let's look at the first one. Let's say if you get a flashcard like this, if you could make a flashcard where you say chest and what are the review areas, bones, what are the review areas. A chest X-ray one would look something like this, okay? Hilum, apices, bones, behind the heart, and I would actually put one more tick and say soft tissues, okay? So that's one way. You could have a modality-based review area checklist. The second kind of checklist is a diagnosis-based one. Now, this is likely to be much longer. This is where you have a modality, you have a diagnosis, and you have a checklist. So here's an example. Let's say a modality, sorry, this is wrong. This is completely gone upside down. I'm sorry about it. It should be the CT on top. It's a modality. The diagnosis is interstitial obstruction. And the review areas are intraperitoneal air, bone metastases, and hernial orifices. Just as an example, there may be other ones that you have, but these are the things that you want to rule out on your diagnosis-based review area checklist, okay? So that is an example of that. So make a few of this. I'm really sorry that this is all messed up a little bit. I just made a small error probably while we were preparing it. The last type is the exam-based overview checklist. This is where you, and we'll give you a copy of this when you're on the program, and some of you already have it. This is where you, for example, for chest X-rays, you could have review areas, which are, what are the kind of review areas that you will get on your in your exam, okay? So we have a list of different review areas that you could get. I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second, okay? So that's what it looks like. So you will get a copy of this, and you can basically look at all the different diagnoses that we believe you should be looking for when you are looking at a pelvis X-ray, for example. Okay, so if you know, and you can make it up yourself, you don't need my list, but my list may be helpful. You basically make a list around the kind of diagnosis. It's a question that someone asked earlier in the questions, is can you give us a list of diagnoses? Well, in the rapids we do have one, but not in the not on the for the Vivas. But for the, these are the kind of things that will come up. These are the things that I have seen. These are the kind of things that will be there in rapid reporting. And if you know these ones, then you are very unlikely to miss them. Okay, so let me remove that. Okay, let's go on then. So that's an example of the sort of checklist, and then the same thing with the appendicular skeletal. So we've got one for the axial, and we've got one for the appendicular. Okay. I think we're almost coming to the end of this. That was a very, very fast run through a lot of things. If your dreams don't scare you, they're too small, and that's something that Richard Branson says. Okay, so I'm not surprised that some of you find this whole thing disappointing, discouraging, challenging, a big disruption to your work and your life and your future plans. But you have a dream. You have a dream to pass the exam. And it is not a small dream. It's a good one. And I want to say that I really believe that all of you can pass on your first attempt. The one thing about this exam is that it is not a competitive exam. It is an exam where you are comparing yourself with a standard of a third-year registrar. So if you can get that sorted, if you can get to the level of a third-year registrar, which most of you are probably there, and you can hold your nerves and you can work with us to get the right mindset, I can't see a reason why you should fail the exam. Okay, you've proven yourself by doing very difficult exams. The 2A exam, in my view, especially the new one, is one of the hardest exams that I can think of. I would have found it incredibly difficult to pass. I actually passed every single 2A exam when I sat it, but that was in modules. It is much more challenging. So those of you who are here now have done that, and some of you have done it on the very first attempt. So well done you for doing that, and I absolutely believe you can succeed with that. Now we're going to cover a lot more mindset stuff as we continue our journey together. The next month is really crucial for those who are sitting the exam in March. You not only have to keep refreshing everything you've been training, but you need to keep motivated. And that's why we are there to help you, to keep you motivated, to give you that one-to-one support where I can, and to just give you more and more confidence. Okay, so I'd like to ask you all, what's the one thing that you'll discuss, from what we've discussed so far, that you can put to use? Okay, what's the one thing now, the new thing that we've discussed, especially in the second half, that you can put to use? Let's get some answers now. So I'm just gonna stay on the call now, and let's see now. So the checklist, yes. Assess my weak areas using flashcards, absolutely useful. I mean, you can do, there are actually apps that can help you with flashcards. A checklist for the modality, yes. So you can use apps, but you can also write, flashcards, and sometimes writing, the act of writing can be helpful. Keeping motivated. I would be so delighted if more of you have been motivated by this webinar, because yes, we have, like, there's a question there about the slides. We have a recording which we will have available soon. You can watch it again. Okay, so I'm not gonna don't have to review it again, because we are going to cover that. But let's see now. The magic number was useful. Keep motivated. Who else? Checklists, how to keep yourself motivated towards the exam preparation. That's fantastic. A checklist for a particular diagnosis. Absolutely right. That's something that I have thought about. For example, let's take the example of a arthropathy, like arthropathy in the hand. Okay. Normally you will be thinking, you might have known about each particular disease, but if you've written it down, what's the difference between a rheumatoid, a psoriatic, and erosive, and you've written a checklist of things you're looking for, that will just help you get a lot more smarter. Okay, so that's absolutely right. Is there any other? So there are lots of questions about the course, which I could answer, but before that, I would like to cover any more about the content. Okay, so anything else that people want to ask, and then we will answer the questions about specific issues.
I kept track of the question. Shall I just read them out?
Yes, please. And just read up one at a time and I'll answer them.
Yeah, so there's a question, is there a possibility for overseas non-Indians to get a chance in June?
I don't know, but they have, when they opened the venue, they actually wrote there saying that it's for people in India and neighboring countries. So I would be surprised if they didn't open it up to people who were in neighboring countries. Okay, but I am getting conflicting understanding from the Royal College notifications. Now, what I could do is I could call up the college and speak to Sharon and ask her, what is likely to happen, and I'd be delighted to do that. If Joe, you can remind me tomorrow, I'll try and do that. Okay. Next question.
And are there warm-up cases in the Viva?
Are there warm-up cases in the Viva? Yes, usually when you're sitting a Viva, there may be a warm-up case, which is, now I have to say something here because I thought there would be a warm-up case. And I went into my exam expecting it and to be an easy case. It was, that's the first time I sat the exam. Okay, so I've been here before. I've failed the exam once. And that is purely because I didn't do the things which I'm talking about now. But and I wasn't enough. I didn't have the right mindset. I didn't have the right preparation. You guys are far more prepared than I think I was. But anyway, I failed. And the reason is I went into the exam and I got this case, which absolutely was difficult. It was a difficult chest x-ray. And I just couldn't get my head around it. So it wasn't really a warm-up. It was something that absolutely surprised me. Now, I look back at that case now and I think, why did I miss that? It was just a simple heart failure. Now, why did I miss it? It was a simple warm-up case. The reason is I was expecting a little bit more difficult warm-up case. So all I'm trying to say to you is the warm-up case may not be the case that you're expecting to be easy. It may be quite easy, or it might be a bit more the kind of one that you're expecting. Okay, so think about the really easy, simple heart failure that this examiner is just thinking, if you miss this, you've got to fail. But I didn't expect heart failure to come up in my exam because it's just so common. So I started going on to very vague interstitial lung disease and didn't really put the big heart and the curly B lines together, and I basically got the diagnosis at the end, but it was a disaster. Okay, so I'm trying to say warm-up cases, it could be really easy or it could be a little harder. Don't expect anything, just go into the exam, and we will prepare you for that in our Viva course. So if you're going to observe a Viva, if you're not signing up to any of our courses, and by the way, you can sign up to any of our courses as well. We'd be delighted to give you if you decide to sign up to a course, we will share a discount code with those of you who are on the webinar thing. But there are places you can get discount codes. We might give you a bigger discount when you're on the program, okay? But I just want to say that you will, when you're on the Viva course, the case that you get next may not be an easy case because you may not be the first candidate. You are along a line of candidates. So that gives you a practice of the exam, of uncertainty, okay? Uncertainty is a good thing. If you're prepared for the unprepared, if you're for the unprepared thing, then you will be truly ready. Next question, Joe.
There's a lot of questions about the FRCR 2B exam.
Okay, if
you could publish an article, yeah,
an
on them.
exam around the 2B exam. Well, an article. Yes, we could do that. We could do an article, but
then we can focus on the subject question. So there's a question, what should one do when unable to find a finding?
okay, so if you cannot find a finding, then I think it is probably better to just accept that you are not able to find it. I am not seeing anything. I'm not finding it. And let the examiner help you. And they will hopefully show you the area that you should concentrate on. Okay? If they don't and they move to the next case, don't panic. The worst you could have got is 4. Okay? You could get a 7 or 8 in the next one. So just don't panic. The examiner wants to see you calm. And I'll tell you an example. Right at the beginning of this webinar, you will remember that I got a telegram call from David Savage, who is actually one of our coaches. He obviously didn't know I was running this webinar. Now, what happened when I got that call is I panicked very, very, for a very short time. I panicked, and the thought that I could get another call kept, I kept that thought for at least 2 or 3 minutes. It meant that I couldn't really concentrate. Now, did you notice that I was quite distracted? Maybe you did. Okay. The skill is in being able to when you get the unexpected, you've switched off your browser, you've made sure everything is there for your webinar, and then something unexpected happens. Okay. I hope I came across as this was just a small setback. I'm continuing. That's what you have to do. That's what you have to train yourself to become so calm in the exam. Get a mindset that you are ready when that unexpected happens. I'm going to be as calm, as much as cool as a cucumber, they say. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to really encourage you to do with that question. Okay, be calm.
So there's a question about will the FRCR 2B Viva, which is held in India, will the Viva as well be in India, or do Viva candidates have to come to the UK?
No, of course not. The whole point is that the candidates are in India and the examiners may be in the UK. Just the opposite, okay? So it's the candidates that will be in India and the examiners in the UK. And let us pray and hope that they open up more centers where the candidates can save money. Now, that is what the college is trying to do, to try and compensate you for the mess up that has happened now, okay? It's not their fault. I've got to stand with the colleges. Very disappointing. But what could they do about coronavirus? They were in the same strategy. Hopefully, going forward, the next time something like this happens, it's going to make the college even more prepared. And maybe one day we will see proctored exams, which is where you have more and more mini centers around the world where you have a webcam and you can sit down in an environment where someone can be there to make sure that it's being done properly and where your internet connection is good. Perhaps we have centers like that we could offer. So yeah, that's the answer to that. Any more questions?
This question has come up a lot. So could you go over the blind bullet strategy again quickly?
Okay, let me go over that again. Let's see now, where is that? Okay. We've got to go right at the beginning. Okay, so basically this is, I'm sorry about this slide. Maybe I should, I wonder if I should correct this slide and then answer that question. Just a minute, I'll just correct that slide. and then I can answer that question. Okay, so here goes. Let me put it back in. Right, so this is where you're putting, we're calling it a blind bullet, where you put a dot and there's nothing there, but because you put a dot, it's an answer. Now, it's a bit cheeky, and I don't think you should just put a kind of bullet. I think you should write something, okay? But the point is that the whole point of this is to write something in every box. That's all it is, okay? I've probably given it a bit of a fancy name for it, but the idea is always write something, even if it's just one line or one word even, you get 4 marks instead of 3. So even in the interpretation, it may be better to write something in that box. So copy and paste if you like, but write something, okay? But type something, I mean, not write, type. So the idea is that if you do well on 4, you've got to have something on the 2 in order to pass the exam. So is that fairly clear? I hope. I hope that's all it is. Okay.
And we've had quite a few questions about the bootcamp, so
okay, we can answer that. Is there any other questions about the content though, which we can answer before that? If not, then I can answer. So, were there any questions from right at the beginning, which we okay, the magic number for rapids. Okay, so that I think is something you could watch in the webinar recording, which we will send out to all of you. Okay, you'll all get it. So watch that. It's really we can go through that in there, and I can stay back after this. Right. So the boot camp again. Let's go through that. So that's just basically. Let me see where it is. Basically what we're doing, okay, is we're going to have 3 training webinars together. Okay, they will be interactive. They'll be on Zoom, so a lot more interactive than this platform. There'll be 1 Viva observation slot, which is, and this is really for those who are not part of Revise. This is of benefit to you, which is the Viva observation slot and the 1-month platform. It gives you a taster to what Revised Radiology can do. And if you want to continue working with us, go ahead. If you don't want to, it's basically a low risk opportunity to see how we can work together. And also, if we will run this first webinar on the 4th, as long as you cancel on the 5th, it's okay. We will give you access to the written platform, and you can do that packet rapid and long for free. If you decide to cancel after that, just let us know. We'll give you the money back. You would have at least got the rapid reporting packet in a long case and 1 webinar completely for free. So there's no risk involved, really. You're getting your money back. But the big value, and the reason why we have to charge at least £49, even to those who are part of Revise, is because my time is fairly limited, and I cannot do unlimited calls for free. So I'm putting a value on that, and that is what the value is, 99. And even more is, I want to help those of you who are genuinely taking action today, and give it even cheaper. And the idea is to make it affordable to anyone. Okay, even for those who are abroad, it is not an expensive investment for 1 month's access to these webinars and to observe a Viva session. It's the only thing is you need to cancel before the Viva session in order to get your money back. Okay, I have to say that because that does cost us some money, and also all the coaching calls will happen after the 6th. So I just want to say that, and we'll cover a number of things. Okay, which you can just take a photograph of this slide if you want. It's 100% risk-free, as I said. That's where you sign up. People who have struggled with credit cards and all that, I'm not quite sure why that's the case. Just check with your credit card provider. If there's a problem, let me just see if anyone has we will check. If you have a problem, just let us know. Okay, send an email to info@reviseradiology.com. Okay. Some tips for rapid reporting. Well, we're going to cover a lot of tips on the other webinars. Okay, so it's impossible to cover all the tips, but one is the magic number. It is because we have now crossed the time. Any other questions?
About the validity.
Pardon?
So there's a question about the validity of the course. So will the course be valid for 30 days from the time of subscription or to the end of February?
Till the end of February. Okay, so we'll start it till the end of February. Till the 29th of February, you'll have the course, basically. Okay, it's a 1 month, but a little bit more. If you sign up today, you get 4 days extra. I mean, it doesn't make a difference because our first webinar is only on the 4th. So it's basically, for February. It's really for February. Any other questions?
There's a question about not finding the bootcamp course on the website.
Can you put? It's not on. All right. So it's not on the website. We haven't put it out there because we don't want to open this out to everybody who is only those who have come on this call. Really, I don't have the capacity to do that many one-to-one calls. The bootcamp is just for you who have attended now, and possibly for those who watch the recording. But that's the link, and Joanna is putting the link. You can let me see if I can show you how it'll come. So that's the link. Click on sign up. If you already have an account, click login. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign in using my my candidate login, and then you've got it there, okay? And just put your credit card and your numbers. You will pay VAT if you are you will have to pay VAT because there is interaction involved. By the way, I just want to mention that for the other revised radiology courses, for those of you who are abroad, who attend either the Part 1 course or the 2B Essential course, you don't have to pay VAT if you're abroad, outside the EU, outside the EU, because those courses do not involve any interaction with us. And therefore, the Inland Revenue or the tax office has told us that we don't have to charge VAT. So that's why we have removed the support group from the 2B Essential. It's to save you VAT, which is worth about £60. Okay, but for those of you who are in the UK, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about tax. It's one of those things we all have to pay. So that's how it is. But there are a number of courses there, and those of you who are on the bootcamp, we will have a 10% offer available for those of you who are on this course, okay? And we will let you know that code as soon as you sign up to the online bootcamp. But yeah.
There's also a question about will you get the Viva session?
I just want to say one thing. I just noticed that the deluxe course actually includes one session with me. So if you're on the deluxe course, you get the bootcamp for free. Okay, I just want to say that. I only noticed it now. You get the bootcamp for free. Just let us know, and we will add. In fact, we will add the bootcamp to all your subscriptions. Those of you who have the deluxe course, okay, we will add it automatically. Joanna, you can do that, right?
Yeah.
So
yes, would the Viva session be recorded for the bootcamp?
No, the Viva session, yes, there is a recording of, yes, but that is not part of, the recordings are part of the courses. We cannot include the recording. You've got to attend it live, really. Okay, it's an observation one, it's a live experience. And I have to say, there is nothing like observing a course live. And the reason for that is that you can ask questions to the examiners. You can ask questions to the group and the examiners will answer. That's a big chance. Is there a chance for an Afghanistan Afghanistan candidate? I'm sure there is. You can sit the FRCR. Is that what you are asking? I hope that is, but the FRCR is open to anyone, anywhere in the world. I don't think there's any country that you can't. Someone who's starting to prepare for 2B, is this the right time to subscribe? Absolutely. I would say the bootcamp is absolutely the right time, the right way to start. The question I would ask you is, when do you want to sit the exams? And that's something we would cover in the actual conversation with me. Okay, we can cover that.
There's a question from Rahul. He actually asked a few times. So the question is, if we do all the rapids and longs and watch the previous Viva sessions and participate in every Viva from Jan 2020, will I be decently prepared for June 2020?
I think so. I think you will be decently prepared. The only thing I would say is it may be worth adding a course of some sort, okay? Only because in 2 days, something like 2 weeks to 6 weeks before your exam, and we certainly have Southwest FRCR. I think, can you put the link for the Southwest FRCR courses? We've got courses. We've actually reduced the prices on the standard course to make it extremely good value for everyone. So it's really one of the most cost-effective courses out there, because all the other courses, yes, they do Vivas, but they use up a lot of the time doing rapids and longs, whereas our courses are fully Viva course, and you get rapids and longs, 8 packets of rapids and 8 packets of longs for a price which is unbelievably good, which is 450 plus VAT. So I would just say, I think if you can attend a course as well, a 2-day course, Southwest FRCR, or anyone, it will probably just increase your confidence. You might still pass even without it, but it might increase your confidence. But all the rapids and long cases, that's more than enough. More than enough. In fact, I was looking yesterday at at some of the candidates who passed, and I started looking, and they'd done a lot of the packets, okay? But when I started getting to around 50, I found that they hadn't even attempted it, and they passed. So it's not necessary that you have to see everything, but I would say if you see everything, you have a much better chance, okay? And we've got up to 35 packets of longs. I mean, in a platform like Pratik, it's pretty high. Pretty good. Okay, since 2017, I've been on the waiting list. I am okay. The whole system has changed, Najibullah. Everything has changed. There is no waiting list now. So if you when the college opens the timings, make sure that your time in Afghanistan is correct to the UK time. So don't miss the timing. Apply then, and you should be able to get the exam. I think it will be a scramble, and I don't know what will happen to the website, but you should have a good chance of being able to attempt. It's just down to first come, first serve, unfortunately. So make sure you've got everything else ready. You've got the Royal College account set up so that nothing is there in the way. You've got your credit card next to you. You've made sure that the credit card company knows you're going to make a big payment to the Royal College. Just make sure you've got enough cash, all that, so that there's no reason why you don't miss it, okay? There are discount codes. Yes, there is. You can get a 5% discount code by going to Radio Gyan. Okay, if you go to radiogyan.com, you can get a 5% discount code. But if you sign up to our this bootcamp, we are going to publish a 10% discount code for the people who are there. So you kind of get your money back, if you know what I mean. More than that, probably. But you can get if you don't want to attend that, absolutely fine. Go to radiogyan.com, and they have a 5% discount code which you can use. Southwest course is okay. So the Southwest course, if you look at the list of things that are in the deluxe, okay, this is a huge amount of things that are in the deluxe. It's incredible value. It includes observing the Southwest course, not the hot seat, but it includes observing. So this course, I don't know if we can keep offering all this for the price, okay? Because it's not only more packets, it's also, you get 2 Viva sessions in our monthly Vivas. You get a mentoring call with an experienced coach. You get 1 long case packet marked. You have to choose which long case you want marked. And you can observe the courses. But if you want to sit the course, you need to sign up to the Southwest FRCR course and sign up to, not the Observer, because that's included in the Deluxe. Okay, the Observer course is included in the Deluxe, or not the packets, but at least the observation. But you have to sign up to the online standard course. Okay, but those are very competitively priced. So really make it affordable.
We just had an email from someone whose card payment was declined.
Yeah, we will have to look into that separately.
Yeah, they're worried about losing their top 50 spot.
No, we will make sure that you get the right. If you've tried, we will get. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're having any issues, please just email us at info@revisedradiology.com. And we'll make sure, even if your payment is delayed, you'll get the discount.
Okay, so Lara is saying, if we buy the Deluxe, can we get a 10% discount? Now you're really getting me thinking. We will give you we will send you a 10% discount code that is only valid for the Deluxe course. Okay, if you want the Deluxe, if anyone on this call wants the Deluxe course, just email us and we will make a discount code that is valid for 10% on the Deluxe course so that you get the bootcamp as well. Okay? That's fine. We'll do that. Any other questions? Is that it then, do you think? So what else do we want to do? Do we have any more things that you want to put as pop-ups or?
Could we have
someone has asked a question about the longs, but you don't have a name, so I don't know who you are.
I remember the question. So if you can't spot the abnormality in one case in the longs, what should you do?
If you can't spot the abnormality, please start writing something in every box. Spine chest X-ray, at least write the negatives and say, the liver is normal, at least write something. But honestly, it is extremely unlikely that you will not pick up an abnormality in the longs. You will almost certainly, if you can't pick up an abnormality in the long cases, you probably need to sit the exam again. Okay, you haven't prepared enough, because the long cases is one exam that they will not put subtle things. They will not put subtle abnormalities. It will be obvious, okay? And I'm hoping that every case in revised radiology is not subtle, that you will see something that you can describe, even if you don't know the diagnosis, you can describe. With the Vivas, it can be a little bit more challenging because you can have a conversation, okay? So they can make it a bit more difficult. Does that answer the question? Can you say yes if that answers the question? And also, if you've got 4 in one packet, it doesn't make you fail automatically, because you could have done well on the others. But I don't know why people are having debit card problems. You should be able to. I think the best thing is to check with your bank. You will not lose a space. We will honor the price. Okay, we will honor the price. No problem. Any other questions? We've still got 49 people on the call, which is amazing. Any other questions? I'd be delighted to answer.
Could I just say, Dr. Jacob puts in a lot of work to prepare and run these webinars. So if you could please take 2 minutes to send him some feedback, we'd really appreciate that. So I'll just put that link up.
Yeah, and Joanna has done a fantastic job helping me with the presentation. She helps me a lot with making these slides really good. So please, yes, please do give us some feedback. Vertebral bodies. So you're saying that if you're under stress, vertebral body signal was the only abnormality. It's easy to miss under pressure. So yes, I don't know who you are, but I just want to say it is easy to miss under pressure. But I think it will be, if you follow the checklist, you will not miss it. If you're looking through a checklist, you will notice that there's a problem with the vertebral bone signal. I know there's a case actually on revised radiology where I don't know if it's in my Viva packet or in my long cases, where the only abnormality is a slightly altered signal and it's a metastases. But if you looked carefully, I think you would find the abnormality, that you will notice there's a difference. And at least you can say there's a difference in this vertebral body compared to the other ones, okay? Okay, so you want to sign up to the courses once you're enrolled, absolutely fine, do that, sign up whenever it's right for you to sign up, do that. And all I would say is keep preparing, keep doing the practice, keep finding partners who you can practice with. We'll go into a lot more detail on that during the boot camp. Anything? Okay. Right, so I want to just thank you everyone for attending this.